Good morning. I'm very, very moved to be here at the University of Toronto receiving this great honor. I'm also sharing this platform with Dr. Bruce Kidd, Byron McDonald, and Kylie Moss, representing 4 generations of Olympians. So exciting for me. It means a lot. To the graduating class of 2019, to phys ed and music and the graduates, I salute you and I give a huge shout out to your families for all of their support. Aren't you amazed, families? They did it! They did it! I'm a little nervous, but excited. I want to hit it out of the park for the phys ed graduates. I want to be music to the ears of the music grads. And I want to raise the bar for the grads. I've been given 8 minutes to make an impact, to impart some wisdom and insight. So let's go. First, please, as you leave here, remember to embrace contradictions. Never say never. Accept the nature of paradox. Sometimes life will require for you to speak up and stand up. Sometimes life will require you to be quiet and actively listen. Use your wisdom and knowledge to find what works best in any given situation, even if that appears to contradict what you've done before. The only thing we don't contradict are our values and our principles. So one of the greatest honors I had in my life was being invited to speak to the Vancouver 2010 Canadian Olympic team right before they marched into the opening ceremony. I worked so hard on that presentation because there was a new spirit that was overtaking the athletes at that time. We wouldn't know it yet, but that team would go on to win 14 Olympic gold medals on home soil. They had this confidence about them. They were like, Canada, Canada. They just had it. And I was going to fire that up and just add to that passion and excitement. But then, on the morning of the opening ceremony, a Georgian luger was killed in a training run. We started the pep rally with a moment of silence. Talk about embracing contradictions. But in that moment, with Team Canada in front of me, seeing them distraught and upset and confused, I knew that this speech that I had prepared was the absolute worst thing that I could say in this moment. So in that moment, contradicting everything I knew, I threw it out. And instead I said, I know that all of you have worked so hard to get here. You've waited for this moment, and I think probably you thought when you got to the Olympics, things would be perfect because it's the Olympics. But the Olympics are just life. And sadly, life can be hard, and it happens. At my first Olympics, it was in Seoul, Korea. And at that time, much like today, North and South Korea were very much at odds with each other. And there was such tension, they forced the two countries to sign an Olympic truce. And to represent that truce was the dove. And the dove was on the medals, and it was on the banners throughout the city. It was very important representation. And at the opening ceremony, they released about 200 doves into the audience, and they landed on the flagpoles in the cauldron. And then 20 minutes later, they lit the cauldron, and 100 doves went up in smoke on the Olympic cauldron. It was unbelievable. We were like dodging dead doves on the infield. It's like, this is the Olympics. So Team Canada started to laugh a little. And then I said, it got worse. Speedo was our bathing suit supplier. First of all, they chose white for Team Canada. Thanks, Speedo. And then they made a mistake with the fabric order. So they only ordered enough fabric for half the team. So if you swam at the back end of the games like me, you had to borrow somebody's Speedo at the Olympics. Oh! So I kept going. My point is, if you told me that I would do comedy, and I'm not a comedian, when I was going to speak to the home team before our home games, I would have said never. But never say never. Sometimes you need a quick burst. Sometimes it requires a demi-semi-quaver. How's that for music? Okay. Use your wisdom, experience, and what you've gained here through your time to know what to use when. My second point is show conviction. Have the courage to go for it, for your careers. Be passionate about what you're doing. This is your life, and you will need the courage of your convictions to get through what life's going to throw at you on the road that you've chosen to go down. You know, conviction on days like today, it's easy. There's energy in the air, it's celebration, we're marking a milestone. But at the other end of the spectrum, when we feel sometimes a bit more destitute, it's when you really need to lean in. My breakthrough moment in swimming came about 18 months before the Olympics in Barcelona. I'd been 15 years in my career, and I was a 100-meter backstroker, just like Kylie Moss at U of T. Okay, sorry, couldn't resist. So in backstroke, you can't see your competition unless you're ahead of them, unless you're leading. So in the final at the World Championships, I was beside the world record holder. He was an American named Jeff Rouse, and he was in lane 4, I was in lane 5, and lane 6 was the best swimmer from Russia. And throughout the whole race, the first part, I couldn't see Jeff because he was a world record holder, but I was keeping my eye on everyone else to hope to win a medal. With 25 meters to go, as my hand came out of the water, it was exactly even with the guy on the right-hand side, the world record holder. And I was like, relax, relax. Oh my God, you can win. Relax, relax. Hit the wall. Jeff out-touched me by 6/100ths of a second. Less than a fingernail. You can't see it with the human eye. Went back from that World Championships and very consciously with my coach decided we're just going to keep doing what we're doing. We're not going to change anything because it's working. Well, 6 months later, I swam exactly the same time, and Jeff dropped 1.2 seconds in our event, the 100-meter backstroke. To put that in perspective, from the time I was 16 till I was 23, 7 years of my life, I improved 1/10 or 2/10 each year. If you added up 7 years, it was 1.2 seconds. So it'd be like right now at your graduation, hitting reset and going back 7 years. Wouldn't that be horrible? Anyway, it was erased. And that thing that was so close was so far away. But that passion for what I was doing, that conviction got me out of bed when I couldn't get up for the first 2 days. It forced me to innovate and look for different ways forward. I worked with a synchronized swimming coach for underwater technical work. I went to Australia to work with this coach that was all about endurance. I learned the heart rate set. You get your heart rate to 180 beats per minute, and you keep it there for an hour. Yes, I know, it was horrible. But it gave me the endurance over time that I needed so that in the race at the Olympics against Jeff again, when he was in lane 4 and I was in lane 5, when I turned at 50 meters, all I could see was a splash at my head. This was his foot. Not great to be a body length behind, but I could see that foot move the entire length. And again, our arms were exactly even with 5 meters left, 2 strokes. I hit the wall, out-touched him by 6/100ths, and won Canada's first gold at those Olympics. And you know I had the longest fingernails in that pool, right? So, show conviction. Show conviction. You will need it. Your career will give you a pow sometime when you don't see it coming. And it probably will be the greatest thing because it's going to force you to grow, but it's why it's so important to be passionate about what you're doing. And finally, I end with embody values. Know what you stand for, and then stand for it. So I'm a gay guy. Happy Pride. I never imagined that I would speak publicly about such a private matter, but here we are. I spoke because I value integrity and I value freedom, and I couldn't handle lying to myself or the world anymore, and I couldn't handle the prison that I was creating for myself from those lies. So I had to speak out. If I hadn't, though, I wouldn't have been invited to speak at the United Nations on December 18th, 2008, when LGBTQ issues were introduced to the General Assembly for the very first time in its history. I wouldn't have been there for a 17-year-old John Fennell, a Canadian luge athlete that was gay and terrified to go to the Olympics in Sochi because of what the government was saying before those games they would do to the gay community. And I wouldn't have been there for Asher and Tina, a 12-year-old swimmer and his mom, trying to navigate safe places to participate in sport still in 2019. They're two of my guests here today, and I'm so happy to have them. Being in this city this week, it's amazing because it's Pride. And the thing about Toronto Pride is that, well, it's about so much more than just the gay community. It's about having a sense of belonging, no matter who you are. As you leave here, graduates, know that you belong here always, with this class always. And as I walked around your beautiful campus yesterday, reading the quotes from graduates of the past, I couldn't help but think your future, well, simply, it's boundless. All the best.